All right, folks, come on in. If everyone can hear me as we get set up here. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Water is fine. Water is fine. Here we go. I think I'm gonna go without the mic today. Without the mic today. You guys might hear me better. Well, we'll go with the mic. All right. All right, folks. We're about to set up here and go live. As you all know, we're trying to build this as we fly. Thank you all for being one part of the 1.14 thousand folks who are subscribers to my YouTube channel. We're going to go live, talk a little bit about Joe Biden and Nikki Haley and the Trump and RFK appearances at the Libertarian Party convention this week. So come on in and let's get it cracking. I'm just trying to find a video that I can play for everyone when it comes out. So just sit tight. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. And thank you all for being here. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Party's always better than the existing party. Just be with me. All right. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Curious Formula. Well, our motto is think. It ain't illegal yet. Come on in. And if you can't be here live, we're going to make sure we provide this for you. Please subscribe, like, and comment below. Here. This is a no filter zone. We make sure that we invite everybody. If you're on the right, you're welcome here. If you're on the left, you're welcome here. If you are in the middle, you're welcome here. If you're a Pan-Africanist, you're welcome here. If you're a conservative Republican that happens to be African American, you're welcome here. If you're ADOS, you're welcome here. If of various ethnic, racial, religious, orientation backgrounds, you're welcome. The only thing we ask you here is that you make sure that you don't troll. We want to respect everybody's opinion, and we believe everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a point of view that's worth respecting. And so if you have a difference of opinion, bring your data, bring your research, bring your polling, bring your primary sourcing, bring your secondary sourcing, and please get outside of your algorithm, because we recognize here that every truth has to be proven. It can't be a rhetorical, ideological point that you're just trying to make to score some political points or to make your algorithm feel better than somebody else's algorithm. Get out of your cocoon. Start listening to people. Start engaging with people, not based on what you heard on MSNBC or Fox Entertainment or Newsmax or News Nation. Get out of your cocoon, get out of your comfort zone, and start engaging people. You don't have to agree with anybody, but you will be respectful on this platform. And we believe everybody has a kernel of truth and why they feel the way that they feel. So let's jump right into it. Unless you've been under a rock or living under a stone or had your head buried in the sand, you recognize that Nikki Haley, a former combatant for the Republican presidential nomination in 2024, has endorsed and said she will vote for, in November, Donald Trump. As you all remember, not only was Nikki Haley the last woman standing in the primary race to succeed Donald Trump as the nominee for the Republican nomination in 2024, she also took the most pointed jabs, the most stinging attacks on him policy-wise, personal-wise, attacking his fitness for office and his ability to serve with any degree of success in the next 4 years. Yes, she has come back home. There's a lot of reasons why, but two stand out in my mind most emphatically. One is Nikki Haley was told by the RNC, Republican National Committee, to come on home and endorse Donald Trump for the sake of the party. If any of you have been following the primary races as they've been going on for the last few weeks, you've seen a growing number of anti-Donald Trump supporters voicing their displeasure and their non-support of him in various primaries at the end of the last few weeks. Most poignantly, in Indiana, where 20% of the vote went to Nikki Haley, who has not been an active candidate for the nomination since February. We've also seen a myriad of 20%, a little bit more maybe even, supporting Nikki Haley in the Maryland Republican presidential primary that just took place here about 2 weeks ago. You've seen upwards of 10, 11, 12, 17% of anti-Trump voters being placed with and supporting others like Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, others whose names remain on the ballot but who have not been active candidates since January or February themselves. But that leads us to understand that there seems to be something amiss in the Republican primary, where we all know Donald Trump is the presumptive nominee, but still getting 17 to 20% of an anti-Trump vote in these primaries. So I think the RNC has instructed Nikki Haley to get on board and support Donald Trump in this way. And if you need any further evidence, all you need to look for is the wording that she used in her support and endorsement. She literally said that she hopes that Donald Trump reaches out to her supporters directly and lets them know where he stands on issues, what his vision is, why they should come home and support him. And that shows what I've been talking about here on this platform and other platforms and social media that I have about the civil war that has been talked about in social media and in various platforms and spaces, but has never really been evaluated and studied. Folks, there is a civil war going on in the Republican Party, and that's a war between the MAGA Republicans, the populist group of folks who are against the deep state, distrustful of institutions, full of conspiracy theories that follow the cult of personality that is Donald Trump, and don't really adhere to a rigid ideological sort of set of values, but really are led by the whims, the pushes, the desires, the statements, the rhetoric, and yes, some of the policies that Donald Trump has uttered and given support to, versus the mainstream Ronald Reagan conservative Republicans that exist within the Republican Party, that has really been the foundation philosophically and politically of the Republican Party since 1980, when Ronald Reagan made his ascendancy and claimed the presidency, really to 2016 when Donald Trump became the de facto head of the Republican Party. There is a civil war that has only grown stronger, deeper, even as it's grown more private and more personal. You're starting to see that uneasy alliance splitting apart, tearing apart, literally at the throat of the Republican Party as we go through this primary season. And I think that when you saw what Nikki Haley started to go to at the end of her campaign, she started giving full throat to those to that unease, to that fear, to that buyer's remorse that exists among the Ronald Reagan conservative mainstream Republicans. If you look no further than some of the retirements that are happening in Congress, giving voice to that, and now these voters are voting that way in the primary. And so, I think in a very real way, this civil war that I've been talking about, that again pundits have not been talking about in any real order, is starting to take shape. It's starting to find its voice, and the calls from Nikki Haley to get on board with Donald Trump, I think, are part and parcel of that. And I will talk about what that means for why Joe Biden has been reaching out to these voters. The second reason why I think Nikki Haley endorsed Donald Trump and started to come home to the base, or started advocating support for him, is because she's looking at 2028. Nikki Haley ran a stronger race than I think most people thought she could raise and thought she could do going forward. In this campaign, I don't think anybody thought that Nikki Haley would be a top-tier candidate, and she's shocked and surprised everyone. She might be the only candidate that actually got significant delegates at the convention, and by significant I mean like 50 to 100, if you call that significant. But she's somebody that got votes, and she's somebody that actually waged a case against Donald Trump that got more traction than Ron DeSantis did. They got more traction than Chris Christie did. They got more traction than Vivek Ramaswamy did, and some of the other people that and Tim Scott, people they thought actually might have a fighter's punch against Donald Trump. She got farther than all of them, raised more money than all of them, and kept her campaign afloat longer than all of them. And so I think she recognizes that she has the ability to run again in 2028 and be more successful. But she's got to do what all the rest of them did, except maybe Asa Hutchinson and maybe Chris Christie. She's got to get on board. She's got to support the nominee because the MAGA wing of the party is not going anywhere. I fully don't expect it to have the kind of sway and the kind of support that it has now, because I think Donald Trump is a cult of personality. And I think that there's a MAGA wing is grown to take over the machinery, the infrastructure of the Republican Party, because he is the titular head of the Republican Party. But when he's no longer the candidate, either this year, if he loses, I think we're going to see a scramble for who will be the next leader of the MAGA Republicans. And so I think you see a lot of them that are kissing up, if you will, for lack of a better term, that are trying to be supportive of him, who are trying to be on the VP ticket on the short list, are those who are looking towards 2028, despite what happens in 2024. Listen, if you're on the VP, if you're the VP to Donald Trump and he wins, you're the presumptive front runner in 2028. If you on the VP on a ticket with him that loses in 2024, you are still the front runner for 2028, and you will get a loving bit of admonition, of admiration, and maybe initial support from those MAGA folks who will then be looking for who will carry on the work of Donald Trump when he's no longer the nominee for the party. I think that's what you see in Tim Scott trying to make his play going forward. But I think that's what you see in Nikki Haley trying to be able to say this. I was a tough critic of Donald Trump, but I'm somebody who did eventually endorse him. And so I have to be at least given some attention, a second view from you all in 2028 when I make my run. So I think those are the two reasons that you see Nikki Haley supporting Donald Trump now and at this particular juncture of the campaign, and the reasons why she's doing so in terms of looking at a long-term political future for her own self and her own aspirations going forward. But interestingly enough, Joe Biden and the Biden campaign, more specifically, has been reaching out to Nikki Haley supporters. Yes, Nikki Haley supporters, people directly involved in her campaign, people directly involved in her campaign structure, people directly involved in fundraising for her and raising dollars for her. Yes, the Biden campaign has reached out to those people, and we're planning on meeting with those people before Nikki Haley's endorsement and her statement of support for Donald Trump. And so what does that mean? It means that there have been actual meetings, scheduled meetings, I think ongoing meetings on the back line and in the background that weren't made for publicity's sake. My Politico and other and other outlets have talked about the fact that the big issue is trying to figure out where Biden is going to be on the border, which they still see as a problem that Joe Biden and the Biden administration has not worked out to their satisfaction. But I think if you see Joe Biden pushing the bipartisan bill that got stalled in Congress because of Donald Trump, talking about what that would look like in a new Biden administration, looking at other things he may be able to do unilaterally and with consent and with executive orders, what that would look like. I think he's trying to make that outreach, and rightly so, right? Just for the same reason that we talked about, the softening of the Ronald Reagan conservative mainstream Republicans on Donald Trump, trying to find an alternative, trying to find a way to get behind Joe Biden. And Joe Biden's campaign has the task, has the duty, has the assignment of trying to find a way for them to be able to come over to his side. Why do I raise this up? Because I think the Biden campaign, much like this commentator right here on my platforms has found out, has put up forward that there is a softening of Republican base support. And don't forget, folks, the things we've talked about here on this platform is that Joe Biden has a mountain to jump over, right? But Donald Trump has a mountain as well. And Joe Biden's mountain to get to victory in 2024 in the general election is different than Donald Trump's. Joe Biden's main issue is turnout, right? He's got to replicate the 2020 turnout in 2024 if he's going to win. And I've not seen an ability for him to replicate that yet, which is why I think he's lagging currently, emphasis on currently in battleground states. Likewise, Donald Trump's mountain that he must climb over is he must win independence, right? And it's a mountain that I don't think he has been so far shown this year that he has an ability to do. Joe Biden is 14 points ahead of Donald Trump amongst independents. And if you think I overstate the importance of independence to a Trump win in November, just remember that the only reason why Donald Trump wins in 2016 against Hillary Clinton is because he won independence. but he's shown no inclination and no ability to win independence since then. He lost independence in 2018. The Republicans lost independence in the midterm elections. He lost independence in 2020, which is the margin of error, margin of victory for Joe Biden in a lot of these battleground states, including Georgia, including Arizona, right? That's the difference. And the Republicans did not win the independent vote in the midterms. And like I said, he is 14 points underwater to Joe Biden right now with independents going forward. This is the issue that if Joe Biden does not meet turnout, he loses in November. Got to figure a way to do that. Donald Trump loses in November. I don't care what the polls say right now. If he does not win independence, and he's underwater with them right now. But the new mountain that and it may not be a mountain for Donald Trump, but it certainly is a large molehill that he must now jump over, is the problem of the softening of the base within the Republican Party. And so why is Joe Biden going after Nikki Haley voters? Why is Joe Biden now fishing in these wells and looking for in this sea, in this brook, in this river for voters? It's because if he can't get the turnout he needs amongst independents or even amongst the Democratic base the way he needs in terms of 2020, he's looking to snip some of those voters that are in the Republican Party that are softening up on Donald Trump to be the place that he looks for to get his increase in turnout. If he can't get it amongst Democrats and maybe millennial voters because of the Gaza conflict or because of just a feeling that Joe Biden didn't do enough and those kind of things. And why is that susceptible? Because we have the evidence of the softening of the votes in the primaries for Donald Trump. The 20% in Indiana for Nikki Haley, the 20% in Maryland for Nikki Haley, the 17%, 15% of all the other non-Trump voters that's happening in the primaries. We see that happening, but we also see what I predicted was going to happen. I'll get to that in a minute. But we also see that turnout is softening in these races as well. And it may be because he's a presumptive nominee, but you're also seeing Donald Trump give out these crazy, outlandish press conferences after seeing him in court day to day to day. And I don't know what the ultimate court decision is going to be, but it's not actually getting the mainstream Ronald Reagan conservative Republicans a measure of comfort in getting behind Donald Trump. The rallies, the comments he's making. We're all paying attention now because the race is over in both parties. So now people are actually listening to what he's saying at these rallies, listening to the content, listening to what he's saying is going to be his governing sort of statutes. And I think there's some unease, there's some buyer's remorse happening here. And so this is affecting not only his campaign, but it's giving the Biden campaign something they think they can have. If you listen to the Howard Stern interview of Joe Biden, which I thought was excellent in terms of personalizing Joe Biden, he also talked about, he ran to the middle. He talked about the work he did in the Senate with segregationist senators. Yeah, they had segregationist senators and Congress people back then when he served in the Congress, at least early on when he was in Congress, and talking about how he could make deals with them. You look at him pushing the infrastructure stuff that he did, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, a lot of the bipartisan things that he was able to do that Donald Trump was not able to do, and that really not even Obama was able to do walking across the aisle. Joe Biden is still a centrist at his heart. And I think he senses America is in the middle, that America wants a centrist. They don't want a full-fledged hard right guy. They don't want a full-fledged hard left guy on the progressive side. They want a middle, and I think Joe Biden is moving to trying to do that. That's why he did propose a bipartisan bill dealing with the border, because he's trying to recapture that middle, but he's trying to recapture the middle to increase his support amongst independents, but he's also trying to grab who? Suburban white Republican women voters. He's trying to get the well-educated, the college-educated white Republican voter, the ones who are just uncomfortable with not just Donald Trump, but the population, the populace, the populism of his supporters within the Republican Party. They don't want any affiliation with that. And so what is my prediction that's going to happen? Folks, I think what you're going to see going forward is going to be very simple. You're going to start seeing Republicans who are never Trumpers, who are these Ronald Reagan conservative mainstream Republicans. They're going to start going to battleground states. I'm talking about the Ken Bucks of the world, the Liz Cheneys of the world, the Chris Christies of the world, the Christine Todd Whitmans of the world. I think you're going to start seeing, and Joe Biden mentioned this in the interview with Howard Stern. When Howard Stern said, "I just can't believe people are going to vote. Where's Jeb Bush? Where's George W? Where is George Sr.? Where the sensible working across the aisle Republicans, why are they? Where are they? Why are they not out loud and crying out to the heavens? We can't have this man in office. And Joe Biden said, just wait, just wait. And so my prediction is that on the heels of this Haley outreach, on the heels of this, there's a lot more of these things happening behind the scenes that we actually know about. And so I expect these members of Congress who retired in 2018 because they didn't want to work with Trump, who retired in 2020 because they didn't want to work with Trump or run with him, these retiring Congress people from 2022 and now even 2024. Kim Buck gave 2 weeks notice, said, I'm out of here, right? You're going to start seeing these people going to battleground states saying why Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy and that he can't be trusted. You're going to start seeing these ex-people who worked in the Trump administration start going to these states. You already have the former lieutenant governor of the state of Georgia, hardcore conservative Republican, saying, I'm voting for Joe Biden. Look in the next few weeks, probably after the convention, but maybe even after the June 27th debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, look for these surrogates, these advocates, these never Trumpers to have raised dollars to get their message out and to not be going to general big states. They're going to go to targeted Republican places in Michigan, in Ohio, and in Georgia, and in Florida. It's the reason why they think Florida's in play on the Biden campaign. Look to them to start going Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Arizona. And yes, even Nevada, the shore, those places up in New Mexico, they're going to start pushing these people out to go to suburban white women, to college-educated Republicans, to sensible Republicans who they consider sensible Republicans. They're going to start reaching out to these people, making the outreach to them, bringing Joe Biden to the middle. Trump seem like he is out to lunch when it comes to being against the Constitution and being an existential threat to democracy going forward. That's going to be the line. You heard it here first. No other people are talking about on any other sort of platform that you see out here, but you're going to start seeing that. And I guarantee you, it's in the hundreds of these former Trump folks, these former members of Congress, and these retired Ronald Reagan conservative Republicans. I coined the phrase that are going to be out here fighting, but not only for the soul of America, but fighting for the soul of the Republican Party, so that when Trump loses in 2024, they can reclaim their party back from the mob that they consider is the MAGA group. Last thing I want to talk about before we get off from here is the lunacy of the left and the right. As I mentioned earlier when we started our commentary, we invite everybody from the left and the right to give their commentary. As long as you don't troll, as long as you don't just say disgusting things about people's personalities, their and intelligence or lack thereof, and as long as you come here with data, research, polling, primary sources, secondary sources, we invite everybody to come here, but come here with your proof and come here with your thoughts that are actually predicated and things that you've learned outside of your cocoon, which may be MSNBC all day long, which may be Fox Entertainment all day long, which may be Newsmax all day long, which may be News Nation all day long. As long as you come out there, you listen to other people, even if you disagree with them, and you're respectful of their comments, and you're respectful of their difference of opinion, you're welcome here. And we want to do that. But we also want to talk about the lunacy on both sides of the aisle. And there's plenty of that to go around. And there's a lunacy of the left, and there's a lunacy of the right. And this latest one, we did Hamas and Israel a few weeks ago. Please check out that video that's here. But the lunacy of the left and the right when it comes to third parties, right, and how they look at third parties. And we have no better evidence of the lunacy of the right than what actually happened at the Libertarian Party convention that happened just this past weekend. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Libertarian Party, one of the few parties that has access to ballot access to 50 states, is a sought-after line, if you will, to get that nomination, because you can actually compete in states against, you may not get a lot of votes, but you can at least be on the ballot in 50 states and be at least a threat to the two-party system here. The two biggest parties, three biggest parties that are third parties are Libertarians, and then you have the Green Party, and in some places you have the Constitution Party, which is on a ballot in a number of states as well. The Libertarian Party is an important line, and so Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's running a third-party candidacy, as an independent, was seeking to get on that line. Why? Because it would help him save money and time and effort and energy. We're trying to get on ballots in 50 states. If he could jump on a party line that actually has access to these states, he could just concentrate his dollars on trying to run his campaign and try to get on some of these debate stages, where I think if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ever got on a debate stage, he would humiliate and embarrass both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. That's my personal take on it. But the reality is that he's trying to get that nomination. And guess who else? Donald Trump was also trying to get the nod, even though he didn't file paperwork to do so, which is interesting. So both of them spoke this weekend. And the interesting thing was that RFK Jr. failed on the first ballot. He only got 19 votes in terms of getting the nomination. So he was out after the first round. Donald Trump gave a speech that was roundly booed, except for a few Trump supporters that were in the front, when he said, "I want your nomination. And if you can't give me a nomination, you should at least vote for me," which was roundly met with boos. Here's the reason why RFK did not get past the first round. And here's the reason why Donald Trump was booed when he said, "I should get the nomination here." It's because neither one of them embrace or actually even support, as part of their policy, anything that the Libertarian Party supports. But this is the right today. The right just feels like we need to build a coalition. And if you're anti-Biden, you should just be with me, despite whether I adhere to or support, endorse, will include in my policy package anything that you actually stand for. If you look at the RFK Jr. Website, there's very little on there that aligns with what the Libertarian Party wants. If you look at Donald Trump's website, there's even less that aligns with the Libertarian Party politics and what they stand on the issues. But that's politics today, folks, is that people are just like, I just need the advantage, so give me your support because I want it. Nothing about honestly supporting people's viewpoints on issues and the like. And that's the right issue, right? If you're just against Joe Biden, you should be joining up with us and not looking at where we actually stand on stuff, right? Likewise, there's lunacy on the left. I listen to a good friend, not a really friend, but somebody I support and really like, Mark Lamont Hill, who has something called Night School. It's his page here on YouTube. Please subscribe and like and comment there as you do here, as you watch this. But he had a great professor on who I greatly admire. Professor Jared Ball, who's a professor of Africana Studies, Africana and Communication Studies at Morgan State University. He is a progressive, and they were talking about third parties and whether you should join. A third party. Everybody knows the polling that talks about how people don't want to vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump, but is a third party viable? Is a third party that makes any sense at all to support? Obviously, no third party has done well in recent vintage. The only third party that I can remember that actually won even electoral votes was the third party of George Wallace, right? That ran on a segregationist platform and actually won some southern states in 1968, which is probably how Nixon won the election against Hubert Humphrey. I think left to their own devices, he may have actually won that race. Debatable, but that's the way I think about it. But Ross Perot ran a high value race. You had lots of money and his personal wealth in that race. The Reform Party, and all it did was make sure that actually Bill Clinton wins that race. And you do know that if Ross Perot does not run, and it's a George Senior, if you will, George Bush the Elder versus Bill Clinton loses that race head on with Ross Perot. Ross Perot took just enough votes away from George Bush to give Clinton votes in a number of states that he won, particularly in the South, like Georgia and Arkansas and a few other states. There is in Tennessee, I believe, there is no Clinton win without Ross Perot. So and everybody knows what happened with Ralph Nader's run and the Green Party that basically took enough votes out of Florida to deny Al Gore Florida's electoral votes, which elected George W. Funny how the Bushes were involved in both races, but there's never been a viable candidate who can actually win. And that's because of the relative weakness of third parties as they exist. And so Professor Jared Ball and Mark got into a discussion about the best use of the third parties. And this is what Jared Ball said to me that shows the lunacy of the left. Just take a listen here.
At least that's the theory, the imagination, and we need a new approach. Whether it is a new approach to even third parties like the Greens or others, or whether it's supporting Cynthia, Claudia and Karina in the PSL, or whether it's what Dhoruba Ben Wahad has been encouraging us lately, that is to encourage all of these independent parties to evolve into one massive third electoral force. I don't know exactly what we should do in that, what the approach should be, but I think it has to be in that direction. I think
So actually putting forward something by Daruba bin Wahad, another person who I respect on the left in terms of his critique, and God knows he is his own personal commitment to improving the lives of African Americans and people of color and people in poverty across America for decades, right? He's an activist par excellence, and there are very few who can match his community. But the relative just disinformation, the relative naivete about third parties. Why would I made just a basic list of third parties that just thinking off the top of my head, like how many third parties are there actually in the world, and how many third parties are there actually in the nation, and how many third parties are have been around and are viable and whatnot. And I came up with like a gang of them, right? That I just know off the top of my head, and I wrote them down. So, so that we could just have them for discussion purposes. And obviously I can't find them now when I need them, right? When I actually am looking to talk about this stuff, I can't actually locate it. But here's the deal. So let me just go off the top of my head, really go off the top of my head, because I don't even have my notes down. So you have the Libertarian Party, which we just talked about. We have the Green Party. You have the People's Party. You have the Constitution Party. You have the Socialist Workers Party. You have the Working Families Party. You have there's a party called the Socialist and Working Group Party. There's no labels out here, right? The problem with having a concept and an idea that all the third parties are just come together and create some kind of super majority third party is ridiculous, because most of them have nothing in common. But again, the same naivety that says the Libertarian Party should give their nomination to Donald Trump or to RFK Jr. without having anything in common with them, policy-wise, mission-wise, vision-wise. It's the same kind of lunacy on the left that says all the third parties, even if they're conservative or moderate or communist even, or socialist even, should all just come together in some kind of third party, super third party, when none of them have anything in common. But that's because in today's politique, in today's world, in today's what we discuss as actual theory, actual political prowess, actual political contests, and the like, we have this thing that like issues and policy stance and policy and philosophy don't matter, right? It's all about advantage to get power to do whatever you want to do. And that just doesn't make any sense. That's why people don't vote anymore. That's why people don't participate anymore, because they don't recognize and they don't see any authenticity about where anybody stands on any issue. And so when they say that the Democrats and Republicans are the same thing, yeah, well, people who we want to talk about third party stuff are talking the same thing too. There was a malaise that's happening. As I predicted here as well, and I've said it in my other social media and other platforms and other videos that you can see right here, this will be the lowest turnout election for any federal campaign for president that you have seen maybe in 40 or 50 years, because people are sick and tired of it. And the left and the right are the blame for both of these kind of myopic ways of looking at things, uneducated ways of looking at things, unsophisticated way, and definitely nothing that actually is by way of policy and what a vision is for the United States of America. It's all about what I can get from this party or this movement or this ideology to advance my personal needs, whether it be vengeance on the country, or I am your vengeance, as Donald Trump says, or if it's to stop Donald Trump, which seems to be the message of the Democratic Party, not where they want to go in the next 4 years. But tell me what you think. Subscribe, like, and comment here. Please spread the word. We're building this as we fly. Please look for more content coming next week, but we're going to try and do a daily live that will be a little bit shorter tomorrow, but try to do a daily live to get our algorithm up and get more people watching the videos that we do have here, and help us to make this channel a little bit better. As always, thank you. Stay curious and think. It ain't illegal yet.